Yeah, holding second paragraph, 208, about 6 lines down of the paragraph. He says that if you look at the sky and you see God's wisdom and God's ability, that you literally, the sky covers what you're able to see in one direction, like half the earth. And this is just one aspect of his creation. You begin understanding that we can't even begin fathoming God's ability. So he says, you begin realizing God creates as he chooses, and his ability is unlimited, and his wisdom and his greatness. You find ancient strongholds built, fortified cities. You're amazed, talk about the pyramids. They said, without machinery, how were they able to lift such boulders and to build such edifices? How was it possible? It's amazed. We can't figure it out. But doesn't that pale to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's bria, to Hashem's creation? Hashem's creation, you're not amazed. But the pyramids that some slaves, how did they do it? You can't figure it out. Boy, you want to build pyramids, I just read an article in the Sahara. The temperature sometimes could reach, as a result of the sand, 138 degrees. That's how hot the sand gets. Because as a result of the reflection of the sun off the sand, it reaches 138 degrees. So they found in the sand there's certain ants that are able to survive that level of temperature. And they're able to live a number of hours. And they're using it for technology. That the ants have certain hair follicles on them, these particular types of ants. And when the sun, when it's heated, it starts reflecting. And it repulses the heat. So the heat is not absorbed, and therefore the ant system is able to cool itself down. So they want to draw from that exactly how to create reflective material, how to minimize the absorption of heat. This is from Hashem's bria. This is this ant. It's a little larger this ant, but it has this. And when it's heated, it looks like an electric bulb, like the filament being illuminated. That's what it looks like. The ant. So this is the ant. HaKadosh Baruch created the ant that it should be able to survive heat 138 degrees in the sand. Understand? It's amazing. Okay, so now why is it amazing? Because we're able to draw something from that. Sonar. Where did they learn sonar from? From the porpoise. A lot of the sonar is learned because the porpoise sends out certain signals, and it bounces back, right? It's deflected by other things. Therefore, you have certain, distances and many. This from the porpoise you learn this. Oh, the porpoise is closest to human intelligence. It's unbelievable. What about HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the picture? He's not part of the equation. So you have to be amazed. That's not part of the equation. But that's what he's pointing out. Everybody is agonized, the ISIS, Imam Shmum, they went into Iraq and there were edifices that were 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years. They went and destroyed everything. Such carnage, such destruction. That they kill people is not so terrible. But this is, this is the history of Iraq. They went and they destroyed it. This is something unconscionable. People, hundreds of thousands of people murdered. Okay, that could be replaced, but this can't be replaced. But you're amazed. What are you amazed at? So therefore, the ancient cities of Iraq, time goes back to Nebuchadnezzar, Babylonia. Therefore, what? What about Hashem's creation? Hashem's creation is older than that. Are you amazed with it? Are you impressed with it? That's what he's pointing out over here. Nismal yecholtem lasos kamo. People are taken aback at their ability that they can build such cities. And that reveals us the degree of their power, their strength, and their ability to create these fortresses. He's this minutia becomes enlarged in our eyes, and this disgraceful act, we're impressed with it. What do we gain from that? What difference does it make in our life? a person spends $100,000, goes on a trip, vacation, and he comes back, and he has enough to talk about for the next year. And what do you talk about? You know, he was on the safari, and he came within 3 feet of the lion, and the leopard, and the rhinoceros, and it wasn't in a cage. You know, it's amazing. You know what that means? And the grass was 8 feet tall. They couldn't even see them. Yeah. So what's the value? He refers to it, Hamas HaNivzeh, this disgraceful event. You were all impressed with it. You know, what are you impressed? You go to, you know, the Mayans in Mexico. There's certain whatever is like hieroglyphics that they paint. They're trying to figure what is. You see that even the ancient man, you saw his ability, his artistic abilities, his ability of communication. You understand? This you're impressed with. But that we have was sophisticated, the emes of Torah, and there was never dark ages by Jews, that you're not impressed with. But the Mayans that threw whatever it was, which is paganism, and this and that's you're impressed with. What do they call these guys? Take you up on the llamas up into the mountains, you know? So for 3 days we're going up, and we barely had enough water to make it to the top, and we didn't even have our cell phones with us. You know what that means? You know, that's an experience. That's a life remembering experience. Okay. To say it commentary. To what degree should we be in wonderment regarding the Creator who created heaven and earth? Without any effort, without any difficulty. He doesn't become weary. Like nothing. And for no reason, because that's what he willed. How did it come about? It's his word. Just with the wind out of his mouth, it happened. People today, they think they're intellectuals. Why do they intellectuals? They say nothing, but since they say it, they use a certain vocabulary, and it comes out, sounds sophisticated. That's intellectualism. Did you hear what he said? Profound. What's so profound? Nothing profound. If you were never exposed to profound, you think it's profound. It's like I remember, you know, my Rashiv Zachatzaddik passed away, so a year afterwards, they had written something about his greatness in Torah. So what the story they wrote, the one who wrote the article, didn't know Shiva, said he went to visit Israel once. This is in the 60s, first time he visited. And he went to the Chevron Yeshiva. Chevron was a carrier from Slobodka in Europe, and he was a Slobodka student from Slobodka. And he was one of the close, he was mentored by the Alt of Slobodka, Yeshiva. So, and my Yeshiva knew Shas, Babli Yushalmi on his fingertips. I used to walk with him for hours, quotes from everywhere and anywhere in Shas. So they write over there in the article about his greatness in Torah. He was a Chevron, and when he came, they wanted to honor him to say a lecture. And they were studying a certain Masechta, tractate, whatever it was. In yeshivas, they have a cycle. Every 4 years, they learn so many Masechtas. It's a cycle. So they come to the yeshivas and say, we want to ask you honor us to say a lecture, whatever we're studying. So he says, not a problem, I'll say it. He says, when do you want to say it? You know, maybe you want to say it. Think about it for a few hours, come back tomorrow and say it. He says, no, I'll say it this moment. You know, on the spot, without preparation. You see his greatness in Torah, amazing. We're talking about every 4 years, this is repeated year in, every 4-year cycle. So in the Shiva, anybody who says Shiurim, maybe said this, gave a lecture maybe 10, 15 times in a public setting. That shows greatness, you understand? You know? 810 7th Avenue, 28th floor. You've been coming a few years. You know, it's amazing. You have such a memory. It's unbelievable. Your retention is phenomenal. That's greatness. What does that do with greatness? What about those babbling Yushalmi and things which most people don't know? That shows greatness. But if you're never exposed to greatness, you don't know what true genius is, you're impressed with mediocrity. Because within the bell curve of mediocrity, this is he's top of the mountain. That's what it is. Same thing we're talking about. It's amazing. That song, that whatever it is, there's a story of Rebbe Lapian, who at the age of 27 had Gilui Elio. Rebbe Lapian, he was the last surviving student of the Alta of Kelm, passed away in the 60s. Rebbe Lapian spent maybe about 30 years in Gateshead in London before World War II, between World War I and World War II. He was in England. So he was the mashgiach up in near Haifa. There's a community there, Kfar Hasidim. So, and he was a holy man. If Eliyahu Amanavi came to him, he was a holy man. Understand? So, in real Lithuanian yeshivas, when l'chododi, they don't sing with a tune. It's chanted. It's chanted. That's what it is. They don't sing. Singing it with a tune, it's really Hasidic. That's Hasidish. It's not. The Lithuanian minhag is not. Later it was introduced, even in Lithuanian yeshivas. They sing l'chodod till today. Lakewood, any yeshuls in Lakewood, it's chanted. It's not. There's no tune sung to l'chododi. Wait out. I'm bringing out the point. So there was a student who came from the United States in the 50s, had a phenomenal voice. He was very musically inclined, and he was going to break the ice. He goes to the Amud, and Rebbe Lapian is there. He's the mashgiach, and he rules with an iron hand. There's no nonsense. And he's already a man in his upper 80s. Guess the way he was 95. And he goes up. Nobody realized he was going to sing with a tune. He starts singing l'chododi with a tune. People are frozen in their places because they don't know what the reactions could be. Rebellious says nothing. Says nothing. After davening's over, doesn't say a word to the student who sang it. Okay. Next week he did such a fine job. They sent him over again next week. So he's testing the waters. Next week he sings a different tune, not the original tune he sang the previous week. This time, Rebellion calls him obvious. It's not acceptable. This last week, the musical tune you sung is rooted in Kabbalah. It goes back to the time of the Beis Hamikdash. He was an expert in Zohar, all Kabbalah. He says, therefore, I didn't say anything last week because it had value and it enhanced the davening. This week, this tune has no relevance to that. Therefore, I don't want it. You understand? So we're talking about music. I'm talking about representation of music. You know, the Beis Hamikdash, the Levium, they sang. They were musical instruments. Was it an 8-string instrument? And the number of strings has to do with, it activates spiritual forces. All this has relevance, but if you know the inner workings, then you understand. But if you don't know it, music is music. Do you like country music? Do you like classical music? Lahabdil, $11. I mean, that's what it is. So what do people understand? Okay? That's what he's talking about.